Hi, everybody. So, if you have been using any of the AI tools like ChatGPT or let's say Claude or Gemini, then I'm definitely sure you might have heard about the term vector databases. And you must be having a question that what are these vector databases and why everybody is actually talking about it. To be very honest, if you want to build a career in AI engineering, or let's say as a software engineer who is going to work in the overall ecosystem of AI and agents and all, then vector databases is going to be kind of like the most fundamental technology that you have to learn. You cannot actually skip this. And a lot of people start thinking that, okay, it's also just another type of a database, right? But technically, there is a lot more into it. And in this particular video, we are going to talk about introduction to vector databases. I'll try to make sure that I explain what are vector databases in as simple manner as possible. There are some really interesting illustration and visualizations that I have actually figured out for you guys so that you can actually visually understand what vector databases are, why they are actually used, and I'll also help you understand a few couple of options that you can actually start exploring. I'll make sure that this particular video is as beginner friendly as possible so that you can start your journey in exploring vector databases. So without any further ado, let's just start. But before starting the video, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, do consider subscribing because we are going to put some really awesome content coming up ahead. So, before moving forward in the video, if you are somebody who wants to learn the concept of AI engineering and actually make a career in the same field, then you are actually at the right place. Algocamp has launched its first AI engineering cohort in which you will be able to learn state of the art patterns on how to make these real world production grade ready AI applications. You will learn all the concepts from beginner to advanced, starting from basics of LLMs, understanding GPT's API or let's say Claude's API, how you can actually set up RAGs in production, how you can make your own AI agents with a lot of interesting projects as well. You will be making projects including making your own code reviewing agent, making your own RAG pipeline which will be able to handle long running tasks as well, and whatnot. I list all of the projects here and you can pause the video and check out all of them. This particular cohort will also help you understand behind the scenes of an LLM so that you can understand how the LLM actually works, the neural network architecture, the transformers architecture, what was actually running before LLMs like RNNs and LSTMs. All of these concepts of deep learning also we will be actually covering. This particular cohort has been actually made sure that if you're somebody who knows nothing about AI engineering and wants to start your career in AI engineering, you will be able to actually do that. We will provide all of the required fundamentals including Python, basics of Python, fast API, Docker, GitHub, and everything which will help you to start your learning as fast as possible. If you are somebody who is actually looking for a more structured way to learn AI engineering with people who are actually building these products in production, do check out the link in the description section below, and don't forget to use this particular coupon code to get massive discount on the price. So let's get back to the video. So if you're somebody who is already a backend software engineer or a full stack software engineer, then you must be already aware about basic databases like RDBMS or NoSQL, something like that, right? Now, in these kind of like databases also, you will find a functionality for searching, right? So you will be able to search with things like the like query, right? So that you can do a substring search or a prefix search or a suffix search, kind of like that. So these kind of like searches are technically possible in SQL, and a lot of websites and a lot of use cases are actually done with this. Now, the problem is these are kind of like string search, keyword search, substring search, prefix search, like kind of like very exact searches that you have. You will not be able to do something called as a semantic search. That means you will not be able to figure out relevant things or similar things, right? For example, if I say Apple products, then on Flipkart, there are a lot of Apple products, right? MacBook, iPhone, AirPods, and whatnot. So that's what a similar search is. That means if I have given a word, we want to make sure that we find semantically similar items. This use case is technically solved by vector databases. You can say vector databases are optimized for the use case where you want to find semantically similar items. With your given query, a vector database will understand the context and the meaning, and it is going to find relevant results. And based on these relevant results, you will get a lot of data. That is the reason why vector databases are a very fundamental part of a lot of ML and AI systems. And specifically, if you see in the ecosystem of LLMs, you will find a very important use cases in RAGs, that is retrieval augmented generation. So this is the fundamental difference between a traditional database and a vector database. This is the primary use case that differs both of these. Now you might be having a question, how exactly vector databases achieve this? So I'll explain you it in very simple terms. So you can understand that majority of the times in your computer, everything that you have to make your system understand, it is very easily able to understand things in terms of numbers. So what we actually do is every term or sentences or I would say whatever is your context, you try to actually convert that into a sequence of numbers. For example, if you have a text, you try to convert that text into a sequence of number. If you have some, let's say, some code written, which is also some kind of like a text, you try to convert that also in a sequence of numbers. Any audio, similar to that, right? This is what we called as a embedding, or you can say a list of numbers, or you can say a vector. So you can say that any data that you have, you try to represent that in the form of a vector, which is nothing but a sequence of numbers, right? And then we try to plot these on a vector space, right? So you can assume this as a multidimensional space where things or texts which are similar to each other or which are relevant to each other are closely present to each other, right? Now, let me show you a quick demo so that you can actually understand how probably this vector space actually looks like. So you can see this is a website projector.tensorflow.org. You can actually open it on your machine and you will be able to find this same illustration, right? So you can see here we have a diagram which is kind of like a three-dimensional vector. You can see if you will rotate, you will be able to see these lines, right? This pink line, this yellow line, and this blue line. These are your three axes, like the x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis. Now here I have written a term carbon, right? So carbon as a term is very similar to or related to a lot of chemistry related terms, right? For example, all the chemical compounds, or let's say different terminologies of chemistry. So what a vector database is going to do, it is going to convert this term carbon into a corresponding vector. That means a sequence of number. And then it will plot it into this 3D dimensional space. So you can see this is a 3D space, and this is where carbon and all the similar items which are related in terms of the context are actually plotted. So if we actually go here and let's say if I try to zoom it up, right? So, okay, let me just do it again and let me search for it again here. And you can see we have all of these terms back. And you can see this is where carbon is, right? This is where carbon is technically represented. And if you see all the terms near to carbon, for example, ethanol, right? And let's say microscope, molecule, acids, elements, right? Chemistry, nomenclature. All of these terms are something which is related to chemical compounds and chemistry on, right? For example, if you go to things like boron, right? Alloys, metals, everything in this region of the 3D space is similar to that. And you can search for different other terms as well. Like, for example, if you search for something like Apple. So now Apple can come in the context of, let's say, appliances, right? Or let's say the company. So you can see Macintosh, CPU, right? Windows, technology, all of these are representing Apple, right? But if you see, there are some other terms as well because it's something which is related to your let's say food items or body or biology. So you can see some more similar terms are related there as well. You can search for anything else as well. For example, if we actually search for something like triangle, right? So you can see this is where triangle is plotted, and horizontal shape, outer circle sections, all geometry related terms are there. So moral of the story, this actually represents embeddings. This is technically an embedding project, right? So you will be able to actually visualize all of these different terms which might be created, let's say using a text, an image, an audio, or anything into a vector space, and things which are related to each other are actually plotted very closely. So this is a 2D representation of the same. So you can see king, queen, prince. These are plotted very close to each other, whereas dog, pet, cat, these are all animal categories. So these are kind of like plotted closer to each other, right? So that's the benefit of vector databases. that internally it actually represents all of your data in kind of like these vector embeddings. And when you try to search for it, it is able to closely map what are the related terms in terms of finding nearest point. So for example, if you come back here, you will see, um, for example here. So these are calculated with this cosine distance. So you can actually figure out how you want to find the closer point. So for example, if you see in this 2D space, these 3 points are closer. How do you know it is closer? We are able to visualize with our bare eyes, right? But in terms of computers, you need some mechanism to figure out how they are closer. So you can find the distance between them. You can find there are different ways to find the distance. For example, Euclidean distance or cosine distance, right? So here you can see in the settings I have selected the cosine distance. You can also select the Euclidean distance, that from a particular term, how far are the other terms. So whatever are the nearmost terms, that's what you actually want to pick. That's how internally a vector database actually works. So this is the same that I was talking about, that is similarity search, right? So because you actually plot all the embeddings, so you will be able to find your nearest neighbor. That means what's the most related or nearest or similar term that we will be able to find it using similarity search. And how do you find this similarity? You can find it using cosine similarity, Euclidean distance, dot product, and whatnot. You can read about all of this. More or less, these are simple equations with which we can actually find how far or close 2 points are in this particular vector space. Now, a question can come to your mind that if there is a vector database and there are so many points elaborated in this vector database, then finding nearest neighbors might be a very slow task, right? Because if I ask you to figure out an algorithm, you will figure out something like a brute force, right? But what we can actually do is we can actually execute something like a ANN, that is approximate nearest neighbor algorithms, right? And for doing this, vector databases uses indexes. Yes, the same indexes that your normal databases use for improving your search, right? So here as well, if the vector databases wants to improve the search, because so that they can search for it way more faster, they can opt in for different indexing algorithms, right? For example, hierarchical navigable small world, inverted file index, locality sensitive hashing, and whatnot. These indexing algorithms are super important to ensure that we are able to find these nearest neighbors as fast as possible, right? So that's how your vector databases internally is actually arranged, right? So you actually feed in all of your raw data. Then there is an embedding model. This embedding model will convert your raw data into the vectors that we saw here, these vector representations. So you need a model to actually convert this into the vector representation. And do let me know in the comment section if you know some nice and I would say famous embedding models that actually can convert this raw data into vectors. Once you have this, then you try to feed these vectors created to the vector indexes so that the searches can be faster. And then you actually put that into the storage layer where extra metadata is added on top of these vectors. And then there is a query API that these vector databases actually expose, which might be using REST or RPCs in order to make sure that you are able to query on top of these storage layers, right? And if you see what are the use cases of vector databases, so as I said, semantic search. That means when you want to find similar documents, similar terms, similar code bases, vector databases are a great use case. RAG systems, a very primary use case of LLMs nowadays, vector databases actually power them. Recommendation engines, chatbot memory, multi-model search, anomaly detection, and whatnot. All of these use cases can be very easily powered by vector databases. And at this point of time, a lot of production RAG systems actually do depend on a lot of these vector databases only. If you want to actually opt in for some vector databases, here are some great options, right? If you are already aware about PG-SQL, you can start with PG Vector. You can also use Quadrant. If you are somebody who is using a lot of Redis, then Redis also have their own implementation of vector databases as well. You have Pinecone, and in fact, MongoDB has its own version of vector databases. So there are a lot of options to actually choose from. You can actually see which one fits your use cases and your scale requirements. Just for a quick demonstration, I have also prepared kind of like a small demo where you can actually search for something and you will be able to realize that, let's say in a 2D space, how these searches can actually map. For example, you can see there are some terms already inserted. And let's say if you want to do a similarity search, and let's say if I do a search here, then you can see the similarity search is going here. That is in the query vector in this particular region. Let's say if I want to search for something like, let's say, can you support me in the login effort? right? So you can see based on whatever text I'm writing, it is trying to convert it to a vector and figuring out which of the terms are most nearest to this, right? So let's say if I say water proof, right? So if you want to get some idea about, let's say, some waterproofing data, you can see this is the region which is more closer to it. So you can figure out, let's say, if you want to have top K results, you can fine tune this particular thing. You can actually fine tune what is the similarity threshold you actually want and so on. So this is a simple tool that I actually got prepared using ChatGPT Codex so that I can help you visualize how exactly things must be going on when you actually do a search, right? For example, if you say something like iPhone, so whatever is the current data inserted, this doesn't lie near about to anything of regarding that, right? So let's say if I say system error, so again this is going to be similar to user reports that the single sign-on works on desktop and so on. This is the document which it finds very similar to this one, right? So that's how you can actually figure out things, right? And in general, you will be inserting a lot of data. It will go with the embedding and then it will go to the index. Post that, you will be able to kind of like search anything altogether, right? So I hope this tool and this particular tool should be helping you a lot to actually visualize what vector databases are. I believe that vector databases is a very fascinating concept and a very fascinating technology that everybody should try out. I would highly recommend you guys to set up a vector database on your own machine and try to play around with these queries so that you can try to explore things. I would say the easiest one to set up would be Redis or something like PG Vector, but again, you can opt in for something else as well. So I hope the overall concept on what vector databases are and how exactly they can be helpful to you is clear to everybody. I hope the modeling of normal databases compared to vector databases helped you understand what's the fundamental difference and why do you need a vector database, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What different use cases you have in your day-to-day work with vector databases, or maybe if you want me to make some interesting videos on similar concepts, do let me know in the comment section. I would be happy to make a new video on top of that. That being said, let's wrap this particular video here. We're going to meet soon in the next set of videos. Till then, take care. Bye bye. I'm Sanket Singh, signing off.